This week or last Sunday, first day of the week, we celebrated the Feast of the Holy Trinity. The Feast of the Holy Triune God. Sometimes people think that Trinity is a kind of illogical concept in terms of theology. Sometimes people base their arguments against it because how can there be three in one God or three persons in one God? The idea of persons developed by the later part of the church to mean that God is like a person. A person means someone or anyone. That's why human beings are considered persons with intellect, will, and emotions. But I mean that threefold description of a person is also common to the animal kingdom. I mean, you can consider animals as persons, not necessarily mean people, but persons, because they have intellect, they have a will too, and they have emotions. Of course, they're governed by probably instincts. On the other hand, we are governed by our sociology or our civilization or our culture or laws and regulations that we created for ourselves through some kind of a given authority or handed down authority, and we develop this kind of habits and traits that are based on not based on instincts, because if we base our traits and our behavior on the basis of instincts, we would be closer to the animals. So the idea of person then is now relegated to the divinity, the supreme being, a being that is a person with intellect, emotions, and will or purpose. So that's why we have reached the conclusion that Jesus, being part of the Trinity, the Son, and the Father, and the Holy Spirit, which is part of the Trinity, are persons. The church developed the more, not really complicated, more advanced understanding of this by saying that individual member of the Holy Trinity is distinct from one another. The Father is not the Son is not the Father is not the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit is not the Son. somehow theological languages abound regarding sometimes kind of confusing too, because the Son and the Father are one, and the Spirit proceeds from the Father to the Son, or proceeds from the Son, depends on what kind of creed you subscribe. That has been the issue in the Nicene Creed, where the Son proceeds from the Father, and the Spirit proceeds from the Son as well. Well, I don't know. I think I'm getting confused now about the Filiology debate on the Nicene Creed. The Roman Church or the Western Church seem to be different in terms of the conceptualizing the idea of the procession, while the Greek Orthodox or the Eastern Church, they stick to their definition, to their words. So I mean, let's go back to the idea of Trinity. A lot of apologists or defenders of the faith, from the church fathers down to the present, somehow use a lot of analogy about the Trinity. Like they said that just like everything you see around you and experience, like time, matter, and space, it's basically the universe. It's one. They even say that matter has liquid and has gas and solid. But of course, new scientists could argue probably that you have more than that. Anyway, so even in oldest religion and older religion than Christianity, in the so-called paganism, the concept of 3 in 1 is pervading. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And for me, Christianity is a kind of continual updating and re-updating of all their religions. Whether you believe in polytheism or whatever theism you believe, somehow in ancient world they see things like forces or divine forces seem to indicate that there are plurality of influences and factors and energy layers. That's why in Hinduism they have also this concept of 3 primary gods, Vishnu, Rama, and is that Shiva, the destroyer, the creator, and also the one that gives order and purpose. So even in the Eastern mystery and also the Eastern Oriental concept of yin and yang, the duality is held by central force, central, the duality, the negative and positive occurs because there's something in the middle of it. So, Trinity is not weird. It's not. If you think of it as kind of universal energy that has a multiple functions, it's not weird. It's not crazy or unbelievable. The same thing with many things in life, many things in nature. We have this, the idea of centrality that creates binary and polarity. And that's what I'm trying to pinpoint right now, that is not a kind of strange doctrine or dogma that the church has thought about, that has developed in the early church and later up to the medieval times and even today. So my point is, what do we mean by those multiplicity and diversity in the union or in the unity of the divinity? Put it that way. So, what's the implication of that? And I'm trying to drive some kind of anthropological interpretation about these things. The anthropological implications of, as human beings, we formulated or we speculated or we created this concept within us. And I would like to point out that the awareness of the Trinity would not happen without you and me. In other words, the concept is not just out there or somewhere there, or in a particular community that they hold to that kind of doctrine, or some have debated, even the nature of Jesus Christ, his human nature and divine nature. So, what I'm pointing is that the awareness of Trinity, why it is here, is because of you and me. I mean, if you look at what Trinity is saying, humanity is inside Trinity because of the concept of the second person being part of that. You cannot have it without the humanity. So the anthropological importance is so great in understanding Trinity. You are in it. Past, present, and future, you are in it. And without you, that would not really exist. That's why in the beginning was the Word, the reason, the Logos, the Verbum, the concept, the imagination, the creativity. Before anything else, in the beginning was the Word. And that Word is the humanity. Became flesh. The Word became flesh. it has to become flesh. It has to express the invisible concept, the invisible knowledge and intellect and will and emotion have to be expressed, have to be manifested. And that's you and me, in the person of Jesus. In the person of Jesus. There. You're not. You didn't happen to be here. You didn't just pop in this world. You are part of the plan. Yeah. You mean you are a player of the plan? You know? Nobody planned something for you. Nobody planned something for you. You are the plan, the logos. You are, you are the author. As human beings, that has intellect, will, and emotions manifested in this reality. That's what I get about Trinity. It's not something that the church has to teach. Believe it or not, or accept it or not. If you make that kind of explanation and interpretation, that would really make sense. Even for people who don't believe the divinity of Jesus, blah blah blah, like he's a superhuman. Even the people don't believe in miracles and supernatural, and it takes you to the very, very foundation of your intellect, emotion, and reason and will. Because the only ones that we know who are aware of these things are us. We thought about Trinity. We write about it because we are in it. Just like in the olden days, in the Pharaoh's time and the Egyptian empire and culture, the son and the father are always part of the dynasty of the gods. You can't have the gods without father and children and mothers. Even in the Greek mythology, all the stories from the Sumeria, the Anunnaki, Anu as sons, Enlil, and Enki, Ea, in the Mesopotamian world, as children. I mean, that's probably where the word Yahweh came from, Yah. And there's Ina, mother, all this. And we cannot understand the concept of life without mother and father and child. Because that's all what life is all about. If we have to see the divinity, we always use those experiences to understand the existence of life is based on that. You have the interaction of this relationship in this universe. All things play to form to interact, to create things from the very one source, from the very one essence and substance in which we all believe came from. The Holy Trinity. Thank you so much. And if you have question about that, maybe you don't like the theology, you don't like the anthropology, or my argument, I'm just basically using those texts and using those stories that we had from the past to understand who we are, where we come from, and where we're going.